Top 3 most fun specs to main in patch 11.2 season 3. What's up guys, Petko here. This is one of the most common questions people have asked me in the past couple months, and I know I've already made a video about what is strong, what is, what I'm going to be maining, for example, but people always ask me, hey Petko, if I don't care about what's strong, what is actually fun to play? So today, we're going to compile the list of top 3 specs that I recommend you give it a try if you're looking for fun. Alright, first thing first on the list is going to be Marksmanship Hunter as a Dark Ranger. In my opinion so far, out of all the PTR testing, I found Hunter as a Dark Ranger to be extremely fun. The smoothness of gameplay has been definitely one of the most enjoyable things to have in the game, just because how simple it is and how well it works in both single target and AoE. Pretty much, you're playing around your Black Arrow, which is the quote-unquote signature mark when you play Dark Ranger, and that Black Arrow substitutes you casting multi-shot, which means when you're playing Dark Ranger, you don't have to have volley or ever, for example, multi-shot as often. Obviously, if you don't get a Black Arrow proc, you still have to do it to get trick shots to do AoE damage, but in any other case, you kind of single targeting also while doing AoE, which in my opinion is pretty fun. On top of this, you are quite mobile unless you're gonna be casting multi-shot. You're simple to play, and at the same time, I also think you are actually strong. If you're doing low-level content or mid-level content, and you don't really exceed those, rank 1 pushes and title pushes, etc., not only gonna be a lot of fun for you, but it's also gonna do amazing. So give it a try, let me know what you think, and come back to the stream. Alright, next on the list is gonna be unpopular one, but Windwalker Monk actually making my list as the second most fun spec that I've had the pleasure of testing. Yes, I know it is not one of the stronger ones, but out there, when it comes down to smoothness and rotation, has been a blessing. Now, of course, you can choose to play Shadow Pan or Conduit. I was a Shadow Pan enjoyer until I tried Conduit, and let me tell you guys, Conduit is a lot of fun. The rotation itself, I feel so good to be playing it. Honestly, the flow of it is pretty good. Again, we don't want to talk numerical values, so I'm not gonna say it, but have a nice touch of dashes. Slicing Winds, for example, dashes through the enemies, which can be a pain in the ass sometimes, or a blessing, depends on the situation. You can have rolls, double jumps, for example, very good utility to help your team, like stuns and ring of pieces, and remove enrage effects, remove poison, disease, etc. So honestly, Along has a lot of toolkits to help your team, and at the same time, it is honestly one of the most fun specs that I've tried so far in PTR. Again, especially as a melee, I am not a melee enjoyer. Personally, I've always been a range main, but if I have to go and play an ult, whether it's going to be, OP or just fun as a melee, I'm going to go with a fun option and play Windwalker personally. So if you haven't given it a try, if you've never seen Monk or haven't had a chance to explore it, Season 3 is going to be your season to give it a try. Alright, next on the list is going to be Shaman. I know I might be a bit biased, but Ellie so far has been a blessing in disguise. Honestly, the rotation feels just as smooth just in Season 2. The only difference is now you're also waving primordial waves in Mass AoE, which is actually giving you a boost of haste, which again, to me, Mythic Plus, visually speaking, Ellie is the most beautiful specs when it comes down to, just purely visuals. The chain lightings, the overloads, the storm around you, the elemental blast flying in, you see the frost shocks flying in as well, primordial wave, for example, being hit to like multiple targets. It's really, really fun and beautiful spec to be played out. Even if you disregard the damage, which by the way, the damage right now is rather good after buffs, both in raid and also single target, it is honestly fun to play the spec. The only time where I could see that you might not have as much fun, and keep in mind that happens quite rarely, is if you don't get any proc of, let's say, DRE or tier set, which gives you Ascendance, which gives you the main cooldowns, could be not so fun, okay? This doesn't happen often just because your tier set now gives you, more Ascendance uptime, but whenever it doesn't happen, it just feels bad. That's why I'm placing it on a third spot in terms of fun. But if you, for example, are more consistent and you get the proc exactly when you need it, it's actually like the best fun. Like, you have the aspect of RNG casino spec, which some people like to have, and also the strength of just having your old cooldowns and visually appealing to mass amount of people. Honestly, I'm gonna vote for like Ellie being one of the most fun specs to try. All right, and one last thing I thought about myself. You know what? It's time to give you a curveball, okay? And the last pick is gonna be a situational pick. I'm gonna say Shadow Priest has been very fun to play so far, especially as a Void Weaver. Personally, I've always been an Archon enjoyer, but after the most recent rework, I think Void Weaver have won my heart. Honestly, the new talent Void Volley is just so fun to have. Like you get to press your 30-second, I already forgot the cooldown to it, but you get to press your 30-second cooldown, right? And after that you press Void Volley, right? So it hits every other target. It's like mini eruption coming out of you and hitting like as many targets as you have around. Yes, that's why I think it's pretty fun. Like Mind Flay, for example, you're spawning pets, you're enlarging the rift around the mobs, which again, once it explodes, it does a massive amount of damage. Void Blast also looking to be visually pleasant. There's so many operations spawning from you. You spawn fiends, etc. Again, nothing that I just said is new, but I think Void Fever most definitely is one of the most fun specs that I've tested and played myself in Season 3 PTR. However, keep in mind, at times it could be frustrating. Obviously, they did fix and gave you quality of life changes, especially when it comes down to Shadow Crush, which again, historically has never been fun to play around, but they gave you double charge of Shadow Crush, which right now will do a lot better if you're pulling, for example, more than, I don't know, 7, 8, 10 mobs. It could be pretty good. However, we found out that if you actually have 20 targets or 13 targets and you Shadow Crush twice, there are going to be 12 targets that will be hitting by Vampiric Touch. You know, one Shadow Crush is like 6 targets of Vampiric Touch plus Shadow Work Pain. But let's say if you have 10 targets and you Shadow Crush twice on top of them, there's a chance for you to not hit all those 10. Because, I don't know, somewhat the game doesn't register some bullshit and bugs out, and you could end up having, for example, 8 out of 10 stacks, which can be annoying. I think they should be fixing that in the near future, allowing for a smart cast. If your target already has Vampiric Touch, another one should get the Touch and the Shadow Work Pain instead. However, currently, once you fight below 12 or about 12 or below 12, it could be a problem at times. At least that's what I found out. On a higher amount of targets, it's perfectly fine. You're not gonna feel it, but on a lower one, it could be an issue. Alright guys, so that's everything so far. Appreciate you guys watching the video. If you like the content, make sure to subscribe. A lot of things are going to happen in next patch, and I'll be willing to share all the information and data in findings video. And until then, take it easy, have a good one, and once again, I'll see you on stream later on. Patch begins in exactly 2 days from now. Well, I guess already a day, depends if you're European or American. Peace out, see you guys on stream.